Hello everyone, this is the LEGO Winter Village train station set, intended to be a complement to the previously released and reviewed, and still available holiday-themed steam train. This set does include these 4 pieces of the standard plastic track, all in straights, so those can be inserted into a loop, and they have a full crossing here with crossing guards that can be raised and lowered on either side. The station itself is built on an elevated platform, so there's a ramp for your figures to be able to walk up. The posts for the chain railing use a light gray unprinted microphone piece on the top of each. That'll be a useful color for those with no paint application whatsoever. The mailbox just has a single sticker on the front, and there's also a sticker for the sign for the external access to the ticket counter. Now this has a narrow window on it and just a slot beneath that window to allow you to pass a printed ticket piece back and forth through there. Also notice the medium nougat colored kind of scroll edge piece, the flourish piece that's a modified 1x1 brick underneath here. They've got I think 3 of those in this set in total. I think that's a new color for that part. Most of the interesting building techniques I think went into this entranceway, which has interesting parts, interesting angles. The whole thing is placed in at a 45-degree angle, and it doesn't use just standard spacing of regular bricks. So they've got some interesting textures made with different offsets with jumpers and tiles put into good effect. Those are printed clock faces. There are 3 of them, and those are actually minifig shield pieces that are attached with a bar inside or behind there for each. This section of the roof is symmetrical all the way around. It's completely closed around all 4 sides, but the rest of the building is not. And I'll show you how that works in just a minute. But first I want to finish just the exterior. That's a sticker there for the sign, which looks pretty nice. Nice texturing around the outside here. Got a couple of newspapers that you can pick up and read, and just a little covered area that has a bench inside of there. Obviously, they're trying to show snow around the place in different areas, and they've made good use of some relatively new pieces with the quarter round tile piece and also some 2x2 wedge plates. These 2 small trees are also included in the set, and let me turn this around to let you see what this looks like from the back. It's an inside corner cutaway. Now there are 2 signs that show you the schedule, and those are identical stickers. So there's one there and then one above the ticket counter, which is also accessible from the inside. They have just a small counter there, and there are 2 of those printed pre-existing ticket pieces. And then over here to the side is just a small coffee shop. Has a nice Cafe Au Lait sticker. That's the name of the cafe there, not Cafe Au Lait. And that's actually a pretty realistic looking thing with some fairly realistic looking prices for a change, which will be a little bit awkward for the figures that are used to handing over a $100 note every time that they pay for anything. This has just a liftable counter right there that can be brought up, and that's a printed cash register piece behind there. Not really a full register per se, but good use of the space and good use of relatively new pieces for the coffee maker machine back there. There's also a small tree or topiary on kind of an attic level up above, but it's kind of like the design that they've done normally with buildings being completely open around the back, but then just folded in to create that corner. Gives you good access. I think they made good use of the space there. There is room to place figures in there, both as employees and as customers coming in, but only just barely enough. And it is a little bit of an awkward space around the back. You can't put it all, if you want to use this for display, you can't put it all the way up against a wall or something like that. However, the good thing about the shaping is that it does look good from more angles than usual. You can bring this all the way around to the side, and it still looks like it's potentially a complete building unless you really get up from a high angle. But that's pretty much it for the structure here. Let's take a look at the figures more closely. Here are the first 4 of 5, and there are no new parts here, no new prints or anything, but I think all of these figures look good. Some of them may be a little bit recognizable, but I don't think that's such a bad thing. I think they're all perfectly appropriate, and I especially like seeing the coffee shop employee pieces being used again. I think that that's just really useful stuff. It is a gender-specific torso, but not to a extreme extent, so you could potentially swap that out and wouldn't look too unusual to have a male head and hair used on that as well. So you can start to multiply out your employee force if you have multiples of the same type of figure. No alternate faces for any of these. Here's the 5th figure with a suitcase and also one of those 100 unit notes with which to pay for all the things. I like this torso. I like the color of it and also the well-detailed print. I'm glad that they continue to use this one, and I think that they should continue to use it for a while in the future as well. Just a nice one to add some diversity to various towns and displays. Speaking of diversity, they've done well with the figures in this set. It doesn't feel forced, it just feels perfectly natural. You've got some female figures, some male figures, you've got some employees, you've got some customers, you've got this older lady here, you have a child. It's just a nice mix. Last up, here's this vintage bus that fits well into many of the winter-themed vehicle lines that they've done in the past, or vehicles that have come with the winter-themed sets. This was a nice build. It was actually fairly simple and straightforward to put together, given that it's such a different sort of design. Not the smoothest of design in the front or the smoothest of build, but I think it's very effective. Actually has a good use of space. It fits a total of 4 figures inside. It's only 6 studs wide in total. It's a completely custom build unless you count the roof pieces there, but it doesn't use any preformed chassis piece or anything. It does use stickers for its decorations, but I think it looks nice. I think it looks good. Has a rack up on the roof to hold on to some luggage, and they just have a few gift pieces up there right now, or gift assemblies to represent boxes that are going to be taken to the holiday train. Hopefully that or hoping that you would have that to go with this set. And it even has a brick built door that opens up nicely on the side. Of course, to get your huge figure, big hands in there to actually access this thing, you just want to lift off the entire roof, and that comes off as just one assembly, and there's the space. So they didn't give you just enough space for the figures, they actually spaced them out with an extra half stud between, so you get a little extra room for hair to fit in there, and it's just a little bit more comfortable and spaces the figures out in a way that they all kind of look about appropriate in where their heads are. Unfortunately, I don't have the passenger car such as it was that came with the holiday train set anymore, because I salvaged that for parts. So I'm sorry about that, but hopefully this will give you an idea of how the train kind of scales to the station itself. I mean, the platform, is obviously very short relative to any normal train, but this train itself did come with just one, like I said, such as it was, passenger car that could fit some people in. It was very, very small. So that would fit up against the station platform just fine. But I think that overall this makes for a nice display scene. It's very festive. It all goes together well. I think it kind of fits into multiple eras as well. If you want to put this into older times, you can, or if you want to see it as kind of a heritage kind of setup, a limited run of a restored train going through a building that's just been maintained through the years, or perhaps the station itself has just been more recently built but designed to look older. I think it all just works out, and I think that this even would fit nicely at the outskirts of a modern kind of styled city, or you could just use it as a display by itself, I think. All told, I think the designer did a very nice job here, just kind of accomplished all of the major goals. Certainly some compromises had to be made. You needed to leave it open on the back in order to not double the parts count and thus the price, but I think it was done tastefully, and like I said, the whole thing just on display looks good from many angles. It just has that that open back that's not the best looking thing. Does definitely look really good with the train that it was designed to work with, and fortunately they do still have that available for sale. Hopefully one won't go out of production before the other. Good selection of figures, some nice prints. I think the stickers are appropriate. Nice parts, some recolors included here. Just pretty good stuff all around. Really, all of the things I can think of that could possibly make this better would involve raising the price. But as it is, the price to part ratio is fantastic, especially when you consider that this comes with 4 pieces of track, which are large and relatively expensive, and also a couple of large ramp pieces. So thank you for watching. Hope that I showed you everything you wanted to see here. Hope you've enjoyed having a look at this set. I'll talk to you again as soon as I can. Catch you later.